Action.
Action?
Action.
Okay, guys. I'm working on doing the front strut bars. Basically, I guess we could walk over here. This wasn't planned. But we're basically working on building this section of the car right now. So, this section, boom, boom, boom. Because this is where the shock mounts mount, and we could do some really cool stuff with that. But we'll get into that in later videos. Some of you that have followed the Homegrown Hustler and paid attention to some of the stuff we did with that car, you'll understand, but we're not gonna talk about that just yet. So here, a butt weld is pretty strong. A butt weld is basically like me welding this pipe to here. It's strong.
Yep.
But, where's all the stress?
On that weld?
On the weld itself. So, we're sleeving this guy here. The tube will be butt welded to this plate here, and we're walking in there shortly. But the tube will be butt welded to this plate here, but it's also going to be sleeved on the inside here through, that's something like you or Katie can build once I get this all set up in place. So we'll weld it. This one will be welded 360 degrees. That one on that side will be welded probably like 300 degrees. There'll probably be like a small section up top that I won't be able to weld, and a small section on the bottom I won't be able to weld, but they're going to be sleeved anyways. Okay?
Yeah.
So butt welds are strong. We could have plated the inside and just butt welded it, but that car right there went through a pretty bad wreck, and those bars are still intact, so we ain't changing the way we did it. So I went through with the hole saw. Went through the hole saw. This is a 2.5 inch deal. So 1 5/8 inches minus 2.5 basically gives us basically 3/8 of an inch on each side. So we'll walk over here and I'll show you what we're doing here. If it's still standing, I'm not 100% sure it's still standing or not. But these are some of the projects that they're working on in the shop at Flying Hammer. This is a Dodge Power Wagon with a Cummins in it. This is a Duramax with a stick, and it's getting a 48 Chevy body on it. And then there's some other stuff here too, but back here, good news, it didn't fall. But this is this sucker here. So I'm gonna weld this, not 360 degrees, but I'm gonna tack weld this in here and double check the fitment on it. So this is the piece of the frame that I cut out here, and this is our cross tube here. I did label it top because it has a 5 degree, like a little less than 5 degree, like 3.5, 4 degree pitch to it, because the frame rails are, like we said, they're like 31.5 inches at the firewall, and they're 28 inches wide at 36 inches. That's just the factory dimensions of the 33, 35 Dodge frame rails. So we're gonna go through here and tack weld this in a couple spots. Then I'll put it up in the car and make sure it fully fits. Then we're gonna take this out and I'll fully weld this sucker, and then we'll weld this piece, tack weld this into the frame rail, and then we'll weld that sucker into the frame rail as well once we index all this stuff. So I don't know. You don't have to film this if you don't want. I don't care. I'm just gonna put a couple tack welds on this.
People like seeing you actually do the work.
Why would you want to see someone do the work? Like, it's boring, isn't it?
Some people think it's boring, some people enjoy it. So you gotta try to give a little bit of both. I got your filler rod.
They watch you do some work today, babe. So guys, sometimes when I'm tacking something together...
Hang on, can I turn this off?
Yeah. So sometimes guys, when I'm tacking something together, I'll do what I would call a cold tack. A cold tack is probably not standard terminology in the industry, but I'd consider it a cold tack. A cold tack is when it makes an unquality weld, but for tacking purposes, it's a good idea in my personal opinion. A cold tack would be when you heat up the filler rod a little bit before you weld it. because then you don't get the penetration into the tube or the plate.
So
like,
is that
like
more
when you're
like,
welding.
Is that more like soldering? Because when you solder, right?
No.
Oh.
So the solder, you tin the tip of the solder gun, and then you go in and drop it in there. But not really.
Okay.
So like a cold tack, I'll put the torch in there, and I'll heat this sucker up a little bit, and then I'll give just a little bit of throttle and boom, drop it in there. Okay? In doing so, it creates a little bit of a ball at the end of your filler rod. Generally use like a smaller filler rod. You can't really do it with a big filler rod. I guess you could, but it'd just be really weak. But you put a little bit of a ball on the end of this, and then you drop it in there. In doing so, if I had to take these tacks off, I don't have to cut my tube. I can literally just go in there with a cutoff wheel or whatever, preferably a small cutoff wheel. And when you're cutting it, you'll see the material change color. When the material changes color, you're getting right through on the breakthrough point of it. So almost all material, any steel rather, will change color when you give heat to it. So you can see like here, like the heat right here, right? Like that gold color.
Yeah.
That means like that's like a normal tack here, right? This gray right here, like that, this weld here is kind of a cold tack. See how the tack is sitting kind of upwards?
Yeah.
That's because there's not a lot of penetration into this tube. But if I go to cut this off or need to break this off because it's in the wrong position,
It'll be cleaner.
it makes it very easy to break off. And then with the cutoff wheel, you know your depth of the cut. So when we go to weld this, you know, we'll go and I'll redo these tacks here, just step on it a little bit with the pedal and put these tacks back into the material where they need to be, and then you'll go and weld your piece. But if we're doing something just for like mock-up purposes, I kind of like doing kind of a cold tack. You can do it with a MIG welder where you either turn up the wire speed or turn down the heat, or with here you can just like grate a little bit of a ball in here and just drop it in there. So now we can go back there and take it down this leaning tower of Pisa and hope it doesn't fall on me. I'll go through here and check this. But
see how it fits.
See how it fits. So it's not perfect. If we turned it in the lathe, you'd probably see it going up and down a little bit. But you can see this is the hole from the hole saw here. I will not fill that up. I will not fill that hole until it's completely welded, because this tube, we're gonna leave it solid. Okay, no perforation holes in here because of the potential of like water getting in here and rusting it from the inside out. You know
Makes
what I'm
sense.
saying?
Yeah.
So if we weld this in here now, when we go to weld this all in here, we'll have pressurized gas in here and it'll screw up the weld. So that's why you see me drill a whole bunch of holes in the tubes when we're joining them. So yeah, those are just 1/8 inch holes. This ends up being a 1/4 inch hole because hole saws use a 1/4 inch hole. Generally. As you can see, it's kind of dark out here, but here we are, Maddy and I out here. It was like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, something like that, and we were cutting off and taking off some of the front suspension parts off of the old homegrown Hustler chassis. We're going to turn this into a pretty cool street strip car, drive around on the street, 4-door deal, so me, her, Sexy Rexy can go for cruises and stuff like that, but these additional adjustability parts on the car just weren't needed on this car anymore. So we took this stuff off so I didn't have to remake it. I had to remake a couple little pieces, but we went through and took these off so we can put them on and use them for the front suspension of the natural born Hustler chassis. Guys, some days I kick butt pretty good. Today has not been one of those days. Man. So I'll explain it. So the motor that HED has right now is a normal belt-driven fuel pump. The new motor that's over there that I started piecing together after we lost the Dirty 30, that one's probably going to be a cam-driven fuel pump deal. So I need a little extra room up in this area. So I moved this bar back in correlation to what it was in the homegrown Hustler chassis. Well, I mocked up my anti-roll bar and everything before that, mocked up everything else before that, and guess what? Yeah, I moved this bar too far back. So now the anti-roll bar doesn't fit. Now the bars that go from here to the shock mounts up here those don't really work out the same either. And right now, nothing is fitting like I had planned because I wanted to make a little bit more room up here. So now, I don't know what to do. I'm about to just friggin' take a shower and call it quits. But I got like not enough time to get this car together to be ready and tested and stuff like that. So I want to keep on pushing forward, but I'm not sure if that's the right decision right now. Because sometimes you just need to cut your losses for the day, wash up, come back at it in the morning. So I'm thinking I might just do that, come back with a clean thought. Because right now, I'm a wee bit frustrated. So toss the anti-roll bar up in here, where this sucker needs to go. And where this sucker needs to go. And as you can see, yeah, it don't fit. So I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do besides sit here and look at this for a couple minutes. So maybe I could dream about it or something like that. I don't know. I'm struggling right now. Real life stuff, it doesn't always go smooth. Most of the cars are going pretty smooth so far. This part, I screwed up.